Welcome to your Joyful Life Podcast, Episode 9. What does it mean to live a joyful life? Hint, it's not what you think. I'm your host, Evan Weinberg, and along with Michael Fall, we discuss how our thoughts shape our reality and the power we have to create more joy in our lives. Welcome, everyone, to your Joyful Life Podcast, Episode 9.
Exciting.
And today, the podcast is called Your Joyful Life Podcast.
It is.
So today we're going to ask the question, what does it mean to live a joyful life?
What does it mean to live a joyful life? What a great question.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Do you want to start? What does it mean, Evan, to live a joyful life?
I was not expecting to be put into the hot seat. I think, to me, joy is, and I largely learned this from you, but joy is not something that you do or manufacture. I think a lot of us have the sense that as long as we can configure the entire world to align with things that make us happy, we will live a joyful life. So if I have the right job and make the right amount of money and have the right partner and, you know, my kids behave and I live in the good neighborhood and the political situation is whatever, then I will be happy. So
typically an outside-in view.
Yeah, and I would also say an outside in, but also like an if-then. So if number of conditions, then I will be happy or joyful. Yeah. And
I call that when this, then that.
When this, then that, yes. Yeah. I've heard you say that.
Yeah. I'll stop interrupting you now.
No, you can keep it. This is a conversation. You can interrupt. I'm not monologuing here. So I think what I've learned through, you know, the spiritual teachings and through meditation is it is not about orchestrating something, doing something, creating something. What it is basically letting go of all of the things that are making you unhappy. The metaphor, Michael Singer uses the metaphor of a hot air balloon, right? So our tendency is to like just keep putting fire and fuel into the balloon to make it rise. And what's really going on is there's a ton of sandbags and ropes that are tying us to the ground. And so the more of those ropes you can cut, the natural instinct or nature of the hot air balloon. You use the metaphor of like holding the ball underwater, right?
Or
the
cork
goal,
floating or something.
Right. So the goal is just to let go, is to stop getting in your own way. And I guess to answer your question, that our natural state, the assumption of that is that our natural state is one of joy. Yeah. And you can see that in kids and babies, right? I mean, babies are not always joyful, but when they are not,
they recover pretty fast.
Right. When they are not, you know, hungry, wet, something else, you know, those few things that they don't like to be. A happy baby is very, very joyful.
There's a presence to it, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're thinking very much. So they are, they are observing, they are using their senses, they are experiencing the world, and they are in the moment. They're not worried about where the next bottle is coming from or, you know, did the blanket get washed or whatever would be a concern of babies. They are immediately concerned if like, where's mom? Like she rounded the corner and now the only safety mechanism in my life has completely disappeared. But as, like you said, as soon as mom comes back, they're fine again. But yeah, there is an immediacy and in the momentness to them, a presentness to them that
good enough. Yeah,
I would say
presentness.
I don't know if I'd say it leads to joyfulness, but it is sort of embodies a state of joyfulness.
Well, and I think what you were saying earlier about how it's the absence of, like, joy. You know, our podcast is titled "Your Joyful Life," so we're using, you know, that word joy as a word that might represent love for other people. It might represent happiness. It might represent peace. So I think there's the way that that question around what is joy, it's really what is that thing that we feel when we're not getting in our own way. And the word that we like is joy, or one of the words that we like is joy. Yeah. So I like where you're going with this idea that it's an absence of what is weighing us down, to come back to the sandbags, right? So it's almost like I've started to see it, and I don't have this quite sussed out yet, but as neutrality, and not neutrality as in complacency, but as a place of possibility, right? It's what's there when you're not worried about this, that, or the other thing, when you're not trying to make something happen or manufacture conditions so that you can feel a certain way. It's like when all of that falls away, it's like that feeling of contentment you have when you're not paying attention.
Right.
And at that moment, pretty much anything is possible. And then, oh shit, no. And now you've got reasons why whatever it is isn't possible.
So yeah, I think, except for maybe the last part when the thinking comes into it, but what I heard there was like Buddhists would call it equanimity.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So when
yeah.
you are living in a state of equanimity, it doesn't really matter what happens. Sometimes good things are happening. Sometimes you get the promotion, or you get the guy or the girl, or you get the windfall. Sometimes you lose your job. Sometimes the vacation is horrible. Sometimes whatever. And those things don't affect your state. You are just okay with the experience,
With how things are
in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And I've just, going to the Buddhist center now for the last, a month or so, coming across the word equanimity in meditation. It's like, oh yeah, what a good word. And I should remember that, because that's what I'm trying to describe when I say neutral. It's just like, no, this is okay. That is okay. There's something about, and again, there's something about presence. Jamie Smart, who is a 3 Principles teacher, I heard him say this. I don't know if he's the only one who said this, but he talks about you're coming back to your groundedness. Now, the concept or the conceptualization that he's talking about that from is we displace our presence with our thinking or our belief in our thought, and the speed with which we come back to groundedness, which maybe is that space of equanimity, is a good measure of, he references understanding. But I just like the idea that our ability to recover quickly, or our ability to come back to peace, our ability to let the cork float, the faster we can do that.
Right.
There's something about that speaks to that equanimity, that joy, that space from which life is just okay. Everything is good. Yeah, there's no problems here. Nah.
So yeah, that's interesting. So if we let's take as a sort of premise for today that the question, what is a joyful life, or what does it mean to live a joyful life? So if we say the state of being in joy is one of sort of not doing, maybe allowing, being present, equanimity,
absolutely, possibility.
So I can understand that moment to moment, and I could reflect in a given moment, either the current one or a past one. How was I doing at dinner last night, kind of thing. But what is, for a question, to live a joyful life, what does that mean when I sort of extend the time span to not just, I guess it's just a series of moments and then you die.
You want to get technical.
But the sort of, it's called project, like the project of living a joyful life. What does it mean to, it's funny, like I was going to say develop that, but develop is a doing, and it has nothing to do with doing. But there does seem to be, I can't just not do anything. That's where I was before, and things weren't going well, or maybe I was doing the wrong things, you could say. So anyway, what's the project of living a joyful life?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a difficult question to answer, because as soon as you start describing, we chose project, or I initially chose project because I saw, my Joyful Life project as a project, and there were experiments in it, and there was doing, like small d doing. I don't know how to. It was more like intention setting. The experiments that are in there. Okay, I'm going to focus on acknowledgement for 3 months and see what happens.
Sorry to interrupt. We should explain, because this is your Joyful Life podcast. For those of you who aren't familiar, this came as a result of a workshop Mike runs called the Joyful Life Project. That's why we're saying the word project. If that wasn't clear, we didn't forget the name of the podcast this time. Sorry. So small d doings and experiments. Can you just mention a couple of them, just for people who aren't familiar?
Yeah, acknowledgement is one, attention is one, appreciation is one, and then asking, allowing, and action, and inspired action. So those are the 6 experiments. So depending on how you look at those, they could seem like doings, but really the way that they felt for me as I was putting myself through experiments with each of those words was more of a noticing the power of them, noticing what happens when the intention behind acknowledgement is sort of being consciously allowed to be in my life more.
Right. So let's use an example. So, and
Yeah, go for
as,
it.
as a student of the the program,
Right.
tell me if I get any of this wrong.
Right, yeah,
But
yeah, no.
so the first
doubt it.
experiment is around acknowledgement, and this is what we talked about in the last podcast episode: the difference between, or acknowledging the difference between data and drama.
Yeah.
And so what it really is just paying attention to your thinking in a moment and noticing the difference between the data. So, it is raining, it is cold, and the drama, my day is ruined, I didn't want it to be like this.
Yeah,
and all of
acknowledging
that.
what's so, yeah.
Yeah. So it is an experiment in that you are paying more attention to what you are acknowledging, but none of that has anything to do with the outside world.
Yeah,
And
it's not in an order to.
right. And it's not to control anything. It's not to, my family, my work doesn't change because of that experiment,
exactly.
except in my own perception of it.
Yeah, it's all about coming. I suppose really what it's about is getting in touch with how you feel.
Right.
Right. So what are you noticing that you are feeling in any given moment when you're practicing the art of acknowledgement? And I should say, just to, we've kind of taken acknowledgement and said, okay, there's a data drama perspective to it. There's a what's so, acknowledging how things are rather than getting embroiled in the story of how things are. Where it really started was, can you acknowledge that you're a miracle? That's the real, for me, that was the big inception. It was like, oh, wow.
That was harder to internalize than it is raining outside.
Well, and it was harder to express as well. But if you really want to play with, the Joyful Life Project as cleanly as you can, that first acknowledgement is, can you acknowledge that you are way more than the meat suit that's walking around on the planet? That there are aspects to you, or at least an other aspect to you that is far greater than the one that has to worry about stories or being happy for that matter. So interestingly, so that, what does it mean to live a happy life? I think ultimately that reduces itself to what degree are you willing to acknowledge that you're more than the meat suit walking around on this planet?
So for people who haven't,
What, you mean that wasn't clear?
the words were clear. I know the first time I heard that,
Right, yeah.
I was not ready to hear that, or maybe I was not ready to live in the
Acknowledgement of that?
or the sort of reality that acknowledging that would create.
Yeah.
What does that mean? So when you say more, like we're more than we are,
Right, yeah.
what are we talking about?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or maybe if it's easier to answer, like when you had your experience and that was when you were acknowledging that, like what specifically were you acknowledging?
Well, I it's hard to articulate still. I think what I was acknowledging was that there's a responsibility aspect to it.
Okay.
If I'm more than what I see in the mirror, right, then it's hard for me to blame things outside of myself for how any aspect of my life or any situation is.
Right.
So when I started playing with that initial acknowledgement of, wow, can I actually acknowledge the miracle that I am? I mean, the statistically, what the odds are like, I don't know, 280 trillion by a factor of whatever number it is that we're here,
Right.
or that you're here and I'm here in this particular form. So from that perspective, yeah, it's pretty miraculous that we're here. We all get the biology of it. But it brings into itself that we're the creators of our experience, right? We're the ones that look through the eyes of this meat suit and either are impacted by what's going on in our psychology or not. Are we in touch with that part of us that is equanimity? That
Equanimous?
Yeah, I guess that would be equanimous.
I think so.
Yeah, it's like that. It's the miracle part of us, I think, is that part of us that is unbroken, unbreakable, that doesn't suffer, that's always sitting on the beach. In my version of that, the way that I see that miracle part of me is, it's just sitting on a beach with a rum and coke,
Right.
waiting for me to catch up. Like, oh, you're torturing yourself again? No, that's cool. Anytime now, I'll be waiting for you when you're done doing that. So it's the miracle part is that the ability to see that other aspect of you that is noticing the physical, purely physical form going through its day to day. It's the part of you that doesn't feel the stress, but notices
Right.
that some aspect of that the physical part of you is stressed. It's the part of you. Well, I'll articulate it this way. It's the part of me that notices me in an argument and wonders what I'm doing,
Right.
while watching me argue. And like,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that was the best articulation of that ever.
So yeah, let me try and tease that apart because I heard a few different
Yeah.
things. So the first thing I heard was, so from the sort of statistical biological lens. So
Pretty
for
amazing.
people who this was helpful for me. It was like, okay, I'm not sure about the like higher self spirit. We'll get to that when we go up the ladder in a second. But
Yeah.
I can certainly understand that the odds, like the way that I met my wife,
Right.
like I had to drop out of school and move to the other side of the country or the other side of the world.
Well, your
and-
parents had to meet.
Right. Sure. So I was going to get to that. Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like a number of wildly improbable things had to happen to put me in front of my wife,
Yeah.
just in our two
Yeah,
lives.
yeah.
And then,
Yeah,
yes,
of course,
our parents
of
had
course.
to do a thing. Their parent, like
Yeah.
all back. There was no break in that connection. And then you get to the biology, like, the sperm to the left, got through instead. None of this for me. None of this is here. So certainly I can buy into the miraculousness. Doesn't always feel that way, but I can
Yeah, absolutely.
sort of logic my way to, wow, it's pretty crazy that I'm sitting here right now having all these experiences meet.
Yeah.
The second thing I heard you say, you said it last, but I'm in my head, there's a hierarchy here. The next one is sort of the witness to the experience. And that gets I've heard it called witness consciousness. So you said, we sort of have two minds. There's the mind that is upset because of what happened at work. And then there's the second part of the mind that notices that the first part
Upsetness,
is upset. And
the personal mind, impersonal mind, maybe is a way to describe it.
yeah, maybe something Michael Singer always asks the question, how do you know?
Yeah.
So like, did you have a dream last night?
Yeah. How do you know?
Yes or no? Yeah. How do you know?
Yeah.
So if you say, no, I didn't have a dream last night, what you're saying is I didn't have an experience of anything, but you can answer the question, no, I didn't have an experience of anything, which is, to me, that sort of woke me up a little bit like, oh, right. How is that possible? If there was only one thing in there, how would I know?
I like the question that he asks too. I came across this recently is are you in there?
Yeah.
Hey, are you in there? Yes.
Right. Yeah. How could you say no to that? So, okay. So we've got the sort of the biological, physical, chronological miracle that we're here.
Yeah.
That doesn't to me, there's no link between that and the witness consciousness, but the witness consciousness looking at ourselves through a different lens, to me, that points to the word you use all the time, which is possibility. So if I can notice my own experience as I'm having that experience, that by default creates the possibility that I can have a different one. And that's sort of where the Joyful Life Project comes in by using, those experiments like around attention and appreciation. And like I can control the second guy enough that the first guy's experience changes.
Sure. There's something, control. Which is the first guy? Which is the
So
second
the
guy?
first
Just
guy's
to
having
clar-
the first guy's the one having the first person experience.
Right.
I'm upset because of what someone
So
said.
the psychology of it, yeah.
The second guy is the one saying, "Oh, he's really upset right now." However, if I just pay attention to, gratitude for something.
I don't know. I'm not. Is that coming from the second guy? I think that's coming from the first guy too. I think the second guy is always just kind of waiting for you to play catch up.
Okay, all right.
Right.
So okay, that's a
Like we can our the first guy can the second guy notices the first guy suffering. The first guy can be in touch with his feeling state enough
Yep.
to recognize that because he's really powered by the second guy, he can shift things around a little bit.
okay. I can
Is that
I can accept that. I don't. That's not the rabbit hole I want to go down to.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
We'll leave that. So, okay. So biological miracle,
Yeah.
two minds, witness consciousness, and then sort of the third ultimate one is, well, maybe not the ultimate one. What you were saying about. So this sounds like very much like the yoga that I study, which is basically that we have a soul or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
This is not the only life that we get. This is just, one round in the video game.
Right.
And that,
One expression of life.
right. Yeah. And at a whole, there really is only one thing, which is source or God or whatever.
Consciousness, whatever
Consciousness,
word we want,
or whatever. So maybe we're in a simulation and this is just all code and the database is the thing. Or we are all thoughts of one great being that's thinking us.
We're expressions of a bigger thing.
Right. Whatever.
We're aspects of,
Whatever that is. So going back to the You Are a Miracle. So in the first one, the biological one, I'm a statistical miracle.
Absolutely.
Cool. I can accept that.
Yeah.
In the second one, the miracle is kind of like, I'm literally more than I thought I was because I thought there was only one guy in here and there's actually two.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And in the third one, it's like, I'm just, and the yogis talk about, like we're individual waves of the ocean. Right. So the wave is a separate thing. You can point and see, look at that wave, but the wave doesn't exist without the ocean.
Yeah.
And in a minute it's going back to it. There's a Buddhist teacher. I have his book over there. I forget his name. I don't want to go look. He describes, I just love this metaphor. He describes a waterfall going down, and as the water breaks over the edge, there's this little drop of water that gets separated.
Right.
And for a brief second, that drop of water is separate, and it's looking around going, "Oh my God, what the hell is happening? What is happening?" And then a second later, just merges back into everything, and that's sort of what our life is. Jack Kornfield is.
Oh, nice, good catch. Yeah. I like that. It's to come back to that question that we started with. What does it mean to live a joyful life? And then we talked moment to moment, but also over time, what does it mean to live a joyful life? It's to not feel that separation, isn't it? To not spend a lot of time as that drop that wonders what the hell just happened here.
I would say it a little differently. I would say enjoy the separation and just enjoy the ride, knowing like I was part of the whole thing. In a second, I'll be part of the whole thing again. Right now, I'm the only drop that gets to have this experience. Right, I'm the only one.
Okay, that expression of a unique aspect of the whole. Yeah,
nobody else gets to have this experience.
Yeah.
And if we are all part of one consciousness or something, our duty, obligation, responsibility is probably the best word, is to just do it, is to have, like, not limit ourselves in that experience. Like what a waste for the universe.
Yeah.
That it sort of sent its little agents out and or whatever it is. And, they sat on a couch and watched TV
about
a lot.
An experience, or they're trying to get it right or something.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are sort of three. That's what I heard you say. There were sort of three aspects of the miraculous that you can look at things through. So going back to, I think each of those lends itself to a different. Whichever one of those you can accept, you can use that acceptance to put things in perspective. And I think that perspective can lead to more joy because you wouldn't fight things as much.
Yeah, I think they, at each sort of level of consciousness, if you want to call it that, there's a depth of understanding that lends itself to deeper understanding.
Yes.
Right. And so as we come to understand the statistical miracle of us being here, okay, that lends itself to, oh, okay, there's more to this than what I see in the mirror. And that lends itself to, oh, maybe I'm part of life. I mean, one of the ways that I often articulate it with coaching clients is, hey, are you alive? Well, yes, I'm alive. Okay. Is the tree out there alive? Well, yes, it is. Are you part of the aliveness that the tree is also part of? Why, yes, I am. Well, what does that mean? That doesn't mean we're going to go out and be trees, but it speaks to, maybe.
Not with that attitude,
not this time. That's right. Maybe next time we'll see. Yeah, see how karma's working here. But it speaks to that interconnectedness. It speaks to there being this thing that is aliveness.
Right.
And everything in our consciousness is part of that aliveness. And I think once we get to see that, although we move in and out, I'll speak for myself, I move in and out of my clarity. When I know that I'm part of that bigger consciousness, life couldn't be better.
Right.
When I start to lose sight of that a little bit, there's a little bit more friction. And I think having had the experience of seeing or feeling that, ooh, I am more, is kind of where that first question of can I acknowledge that I'm a miracle started. I had an experience. It lent itself to, ooh, I'm a miracle. I'm creating. It's miraculous that I'm creating my experience. And I wanted to, it was, can I notice that? Can I get my head, not even get my head around it. I still can't really get my head around it, but can I acknowledge and then accept that fact? And what would happen if I did? What would be the impact on my life and my relationships if I could step fully into, oh shit, I'm a miracle. I'm a creative force. Or I'm wielding, as a human being, I'm wielding a creative force that is much bigger than I am.
Okay, so yeah, I heard a bit of a jump there. I think you caught it at the end. So what we were talking about before was a little more passive, I think, was acknowledging the miraculousness of the experience you are having. Mm-hmm. Like just by being here, you are having a miraculous experience. You just said we are the creators of our experience.
Yeah.
That sounds different.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What do you hear there? What do you think?
Again, there's, from my understanding of a lot of the things I've studied, there are different levels to what we're talking about. So I would say and this is not to denigrate your program, but I think the reason that the Joyful Life Project resonated so much was because to me, it was like the ground floor of exploring this concept. Yeah. Because the higher floors are real out there.
Yeah.
We'll get to those in a second. So
maybe.
So things like appreciation is an easy example. We've all been told, show appreciation, show gratitude, if you want to use that word. You think they're different. I've never been convinced, but you can, in any situation where you are having, like if you are having an argument with your spouse and you are frustrated, it is pretty easy, as long as you can catch yourself, to consciously just put yourself in a place of gratitude. Like this whole life that I've built with this person, our house, our family, our kids, whatever, the decades of history.
And I think, not sorry to interrupt, I'll just interrupt. But that's where it gets a little confusing, I think, sometimes, because that sounds like a doing.
Like you said before, and
it's like it's a remembering.
Yeah, I would say it's a shift of perspective, but I'm not. Yeah. Again, we're not changing anything.
We're not moving pieces. It sounds like moving pieces around, and it's not moving pieces around.
But the thing I was pointing to is, if you can just imagine yourself doing this, thinking for a moment, so stopping whatever the next thing you're going to say that's going to make the situation worse, and just finding gratitude, not making it up, like legitimately finding, like, oh yeah, I do have outside of this moment, yesterday was good, was a good day. I can find gratitude here. If you're in a fight at work, like I can be grateful for the opportunity, the professional growth, the money. There's a lot
Whatever
to be
it is, yeah.
grateful for outside of this particular instance. And if you can do that, you are creating a different experience for yourself. You will be having a different experience as a result of that small shift.
Yeah. Well, it's not even a small shift. I mean, Sydney Banks, who's a philosopher, theosopher and I guess had an experience in '73. He's a Canadian guy. He talked about it as just change thought.
Sure.
Like, that's pretty cool that we have the power to go from one thought to another thought, or maybe just allow new thought to come in. Remove your attention to one thought, allow something new to take its place.
Right. And what we're saying, going back to the creator thing, is by doing that or allowing it or whatever, your experience changes, which means at a certain sense, you are creating your own experience without anything outside changing, right? You are still in the argument or the whatever is happening.
Yeah.
You are still in that experience. You're not teleporting to a different room, or the other person isn't completely changing.
Well, in a sense you are, but yes, not literally.
But your experience is changing. So in that sort of again, not to diminish it, but in that small sense, you are creating a new experience in a moment without anything else having to change. So
absolutely.
I can say in that moment, I am creating my experience. I'm the creator of my experience.
Yeah, everything changes, and everything stays the same.
Right. So moving up the ladder, and I was trying to think as I was talking, of.
You can do that?
Well, no, because I didn't come up with an answer. What I was trying to.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah, if I had come up with something, then I guess I would have. What I came up with was I was trying to think of like a second rung, and I couldn't come up with one, so I'm jumping to the third one to kind of match our previous three. But the highest levels that you hear about are things like manifestation and law of creation and the power of if we are that third level that we talked about before, sort of an aspect of God, we have the ability to basically go into the matrix, and the matrix is an excellent metaphor for a lot of this.
Right, yeah.
Really, really solid. We have the ability to, I would say, operate at a higher frequency than what's happening here, and that higher frequency, or there's a lot of different ways to talk about it. You can basically manipulate the code to change what's actually happening here, and that would be at least the way people talk about it. I don't have a lot of experience about this.
But I'm not sure there's a different frequency. I think we have to get Dominic on one of these days to clear that up even more, but I don't think there's a frequency. I don't think there's a higher or lower frequency. There's just our awareness of the frequency that we're on. We don't really dial the frequency up or down. We just create the ability to tune into the frequency or not.
Right. We're not. Yes. So the
frequency is constant.
I think we're saying the same thing. Is we can tune into a higher.
Right. Lower, but we're not going from 104.5 to 107. The frequency is set. Like there is a frequency, and we're either aligned with that frequency or we're not. So
when you say not aligned with the frequency, you wouldn't describe that as a different frequency?
No, I would say it as in the way of. That's when our personal thinking, our psychology is blocking us from hearing the frequency.
Oh, okay. I would have described that as tuning into a lower frequency, but that's
well,
fine.
we could.
No, this doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're saying though is, again, according to law of attraction and manifestation and things, is we have the power to basically everything that is around us. So if I look at everything that I see in this room, I am aligned with in some sense, because I was involved in its being here. Mm-hmm. And in some sense, the whole world is like that for all of us.
Yeah, and we're all expressing as unique aspects of the whole thing. When we look into that world, it's unique to each and every one of us.
Yes.
Like the speaker over there with the googly eyes means something different to you than it does to me.
Yeah.
That creation, so I'm creating it one way, you're creating it another.
Yeah, this is just an aside, but as an adult, you are allowed to buy and put googly eyes on anything you want. There are no rules.
In fact, I would recommend it, yeah.
Yeah, there's right. So if you, again, to me, these things sort of ladder up, like your acceptance of one level of reality. So maybe this isn't a one-to-one, but like my acceptance of the miraculousness of sort of the biology part of it.
Yeah.
Is maybe sort of at the same level of the finding gratitude in an argument, right? They both point to a truth, but they're not the highest level of that truth.
Yeah,
they're not correlated to each other. And then as you move up, if you can accept like, oh, I am an aspect of God having a unique experience here and I have a soul and whatever else, if that's part of the story that you're telling yourself, then the power/responsibility that comes from that is you have a lot more, you have a much stronger ability to create not just a change in your emotional state by where you point your mind, but to have an impact on the actual world.
Yeah, there's agency becomes really clear all of a sudden.
Right. Because we are, and I think what the first thing points to, the gratitude part is like, yeah, we are creating in every moment our experience.
Yeah. That's it. So we should underline that. We're always creating.
Yes.
That's an important thing to acknowledge, that we are always creating.
Right. And you mentioned a couple episodes ago about what your wife Julie mentioned when you two were in having a bit of a domestic, and she said you could create me differently right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I'm having,
and I think I said, I don't want to.
Right. So, if I'm at work and I'm having an argument with a coworker, I am not creating them at their best. I'm assuming negative intent or incompetence
whatever
or something.
it is. Yeah. Typically creating in a way that suits a narrative that you're holding, a belief that you're holding about why you feel the way you feel in a given moment.
But their experience is having that sort of pushed on them by me, which means they are now responding to me as someone who would do that to them. And so now in this tiny example of two people, this is perpetuating sort of a negative experience. Now both of us are going to go talk to the next person at work with a less good attitude, right? We're both going to be frustrated. They're going to say something and be like, oh, another one of these.
Right.
And it quickly snowballs. Now everybody goes home to their families and all of a sudden you've got a country that's, is attacking its neighbor.
Attention's kind of a powerful thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So it feels like a small thing and like, oh, this doesn't, World War III doesn't have anything to do with the fight I got into with my coworker, but there is a never-ending cascading effect of those things. And I think what at least one of the things I've taken from these teachings is like, oh, it's really my responsibility to push the snowball in the other direction. And you're dropping a pond or whatever your metaphor of choice is. Like every negative experience that I am a part of, I am contributing to negativity in the world as a whole.
Well, and we could maybe, to make that even cleaner, is any negative aspect that I'm creating, not even that I'm a part of. And maybe that's the same thing. Maybe that's just semantics, right?
That's what I was. Yes, you're right. It's not necessarily creating out there in the world with another person, but even my thoughts.
Yeah, it starts internally, right? Yeah. Like the world looks how it looks because of my current attachment to thinking that I'm holding at any given moment.
Right. Yes.
And the miraculousness is it doesn't have to be that way. We can change that. And I think once we step into that understanding, joy, or whatever word we use for joy, becomes a default setting.
Right.
So there's something about realizing you're more than what you see in the mirror that lends itself directly to a greater experience of this physical world that we're part of.
Yeah.
So like I to me, where I'm landing, I'm a fan of both. And when we can see the miraculousness of our existence, and we can combine the miraculousness of our physical existence with the, to me, fact that we're more than that, that's the best of both worlds, right? We can bring the spiritual aspect of what we are, and the human aspect of what we are together, that becomes a really powerful way of whether it's manifesting or just being in the world. Things tend to, and I'm sure this is reflected in most people's experience, when we're at peace, whatever that means for an individual, to me, it means bringing those two aspects into harmony. Life tends to work out. Things that I want tend to come into my life. There's not really much I have to do. So, if I'm comfortable with where I am, say in my business or whatever, with clients, and I'm happy, things are great, that's typically when clients kind of show up. When I'm sitting here in scarcity, ruminating from my personal thinking and psychology about what am I going to do? There's not enough of this, or there's not enough of, how do I fix the world? The world seems to be harder. Right? There seems to be less joy in the world when we're busy trying to make things different than they are. Rather than acknowledging how things are, but I don't, there's just something very cool about seeing that there's more to us than, these reactive creatures running around blaming the weather for my mood.
Right.
Right. Like, wait a minute. There has to be, and a good question to ask might be, is it true? Given any situation, well, this doesn't feel good right now, or I believe the reason, maybe more accurately, I believe the reason I don't feel good right now is because of X, Y, Z. Asking yourself that question, is that really true?
Right. Yeah.
Is a neat place, is a neat thing to play with when you're starting to experiment with the concept of maybe there's more to you than meets the eye.
Yeah. Maybe, maybe that's a good place. There's more to say about all of this, but maybe for today, we can suggest that if any of this resonated, you can maybe choose one of those three aspects. So either the sort of statistical, biological miraculousness, or the coolness that there's a second voice in your head. There's an aspect of you that's
there might be
always
more
okay.
of you,
or the wave on the ocean. One of those, and then just try and notice that a little more. See if that does anything for your experience, and then when you do notice yourself getting caught up in a story about why things are not, why you're being pulled away from joy, they should be different.
Being pulled away from joy is nice.
Asking, is that actually true? I'd like that one. Anything else? Anything to add? Or
no, I don't think so. I think that something that I would maybe ask people to consider or leave people with is joy or happiness, or again, whatever word, is that something we create, or is that something that exists in the absence of getting in the way of it?
Right. Yeah, that's a good one.
Right? Like, see how that plays out in your life. Do I have to make joy be there, or does it exist by default when I'm not screwing shit up with my own thinking?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
More to come.
We'll end there. Yeah, more to come.
All right.
Thanks
everyone.